Israel Straight Talk. I'm your host, Avi Abelo. Today, we are now witnessing a revolution of sorts once again in Iran. First there was Tunisia, Egypt, now we go to Iran. So the question for us to deal with is, I guess from Israel's perspective, is what do we think about what's going on? What do we think about how the world is dealing with it or should deal with it? I want to deal with the question a little differently. First of all, as a human being, as a Jew, and I believe therefore as an Israeli and as the Israeli people, our first and foremost care is that every person in the world has their freedom. If there is anything that the Jewish people introduced to the world was the concept of freedom. Thanks to our freedom from slavery in Egypt, I guess you could say that was one of the first revolutions that ever took place in humankind. We introduced that concept. We introduced the concept of not having to be a slave to a regime, to a government, as well as the concept of having the freedom to worship. So again, as a human being, as a Jew, and as an Israeli, our first and foremost concern is that every human being in Tunisia, including those in Tunisia, Egypt, Iran, every country in the world, has their freedom. Their freedoms to be who they are, to have their beliefs, and to have their representatives rule them according to what the people feel. So obviously it is in our best interest that the people have their say. Yes, we believe in a democratic system, and everyone should have some type of democratic system. How you define democracy, how a government should run in a democratic format, that's still up for grabs, and every country has to figure out the best way to do it, because every country has its own cultures, its own systems. Let's put that aside. But the basic tenet of being able to live in freedom and not have to fear their government, that is something that has to go from the world. Whether that's going to happen or not is another time. And I just want to add with a quote, or with a concept that Thomas Jefferson actually introduced to us. He said, when the government fears the people, that is democracy, or something like that. But when the people fear the government, that is tyranny. So our hopes and prayers go out also to the people of Iran, so that they get their freedom. Our prayers go out so that the Western world assists the people of Iran to get their democracy, just like they assisted for that to happen in Egypt. And what will happen for us in Israel? Is this good for us? Is this bad for us? First of all, again, the best thing for us as human beings is that everyone has their freedoms. In terms of what implications that has for us, in terms of the governments that take place in Egypt and Iran, that we'll deal with. But first of all, we care about the people and the people's rights and freedoms. Here's to hoping for a better world, doing what we can to make it a better world. Send us your comments, your questions, like our Facebook page. Thanks for joining us. This is Avi from Israel Straight Talk.